Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force podcast, a podcast from Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. This is our special series where we talk about every episode of Star Wars Skeleton Crew, and we're having so much fun with it. Tonight, focusing on episode 4, Can't Say I Remember No at Attin. But before we get into that, we'd like to introduce and welcome to the podcast our guest for today, Jessica McNair from Tales of the Force. Welcome to the Triad.
Welcome,
We're so
Jessica.
happy to have you.
How's it
Hello.
going? So good to have you.
Thanks for having me. This is so fun. I love coming on and talking about all the different things. So it's different than what I do, so it's fun to do it.
and we
We're
definitely
glad.
want to hear about what you do, and it's one of those things that I'm very happy to talk to you as well, because it's one of the things that we always try to do is always expand our circle and make new friends and new connections and get new perspectives. And one of the things that we have been talking about for a while, in this whirlwind year that we've had, especially with kind of the Twitter exodus, is kind of getting disconnected a little bit with a lot of the communities that we built and our friends in social media, because kind of everyone went their separate ways, right? Some people went to Blue Sky, then Threads, and some people stayed on Twitter. So it's kind of like a lot of fractioning that happened. So a lot of community that was lost, but also a lot of community that was found. And we kind of established Triad established like our base a little bit when we left Twitter on Threads, and in Threads there was like a big, and continues to be, a lot of a big Star Wars community, and that's where like we discovered like your voice, and we started connecting through there. So it's been I mean, from negative thing happens, but a positive comes out of it. So like we were able to like discover you there through Threads. Obviously now we're on Blue Sky, but still growing our circle. So. And yeah, tell us a little bit about your journey and like and Tales of the Force and where you've come from. Like we know you're also a big connoisseur and lots of been going to a lot of
New,
cons
but
lately.
yeah.
But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so well, I've always been a Star Wars fan since I was little. My parents saw it in the 70s, and so I just kind of grew up with Star Wars being a part of my life. And was kind of, I don't want to say like a hidden fan of it,
Mhm.
but like I wasn't super vocal about it as much growing up
Mhm.
because I don't know, like mostly guys were into it, and
Yeah.
I did talk a little bit more about like Lord of the Rings and that kind of stuff with people because for some
Mhm.
reason I don't know why, but that was like more acceptable somehow. I don't know.
Elves, I think was
Yeah.
the reason.
And I've always loved it, and I had some friends that I knew in high school and kind of reconnected, and they had a podcast already about Star Wars, and so I guested on that for a little bit, and then some things happened, and so that kind of took a break, and they're still kind of on a break with that right now. And I just really missed it, but I wanted it to be something that was really, um, I don't know, just very intentional and authentic to like who I am as a person.
Mhm.
And so I had a couple of ideas and just kept kind of, I don't know, I guess I wasn't really feeling it, but I didn't
Mhm.
think that was the case, I just was kind of dragging my feet and I thought, "Why am I dragging my feet?" And um ended up going to my first convention February of this year. I
Mhm.
was insane and went to MegaCon.
Mhm.
Um and that was my first one, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm a people person. I talk to people, so
Mhm.
I talk to people like in line, and I'll always say like the Clone Wars panel was such a huge inspiration too, because so many people started coming up and sharing like what Clone Wars meant to them and how it helped them with different things, like very
Mhm.
personal things. And especially a lot of people talked about like mental health and how it helped them with mental health. And then meeting people in line and, just the normal, like, why do you like Star Wars, like
Hey.
that kind of
Mhm.
conversation. And um, I don't know, it was like kind of like a light bulb moment, I think, at that panel, with some specific stories that were told. And I thought, this is what I want to do. This is what
Mhm.
I want to talk about because not everybody, can go or wants to go to, conventions and
Right.
stand in line for things and ask questions or and talk
Mhm.
about things. And I wanted to create a space for that. And I never have said kind of a love letter to Star Wars, but it kind of is in everyone's like individual way. And so I just went with that and decided that I wanted to create, like I said, a space for people to be able to share more specifically just like why they like it and even deeper than that, how it resonates with them, like
Right.
how it's helped them through different things. Kind of how deep anyone feels comfortable and wants to go,
Mhm.
Mhm.
they can. And so that's what I started it. And I started it, I think, in like March.
Mhm.
And I was extremely overwhelmed in a good way at the positive response.
Mhm.
I literally thought I would be begging people for the first several years to come on. And I posted a couple of things, and all of a sudden I think it was like 25 people, like,
Mhm.
instantly were like, "I wanna come on." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna
Amazing.
do?" Like, my
Mhm.
ADHD is overwhelmed now, you know? Now I have to, like, contact people and schedule and set things up, and it's
Yep.
just me
Mhm.
doing it. And so, yeah, so that's kind of how Tales of the Forest happened. And, yeah, it's a place for fans. I always say to share their Star Wars stories, and yeah, I really love it. I love getting to meet new people and make that connection with Star Wars because it's something that can really bring everyone together, even
Mhm.
if
Yeah.
you have different favorite movies and you have different favorite
Mhm.
characters, or you might literally hate a movie, and that's okay, as long as you're okay that somebody else likes it,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Right.
so
Right.
um, I've always found in life, just in general, that the more we find like a common thread or humanity between people, the easier it is to come together and the less likely it is to, create that other or
Mhm. Mhm.
um, create that space between people that doesn't need to exist.
Yeah.
And so I think in the fandom especially, the more we can hear someone's story. And I mean, this is a hard one for some people, but like The Last Jedi, for instance,
Mhm.
like that's a very controversial movie because people have so many opinions, but it has helped so many people through so many things. And I
Yeah.
think, like, using that as an example, if you hear maybe why a personal reason someone resonated with that story of Luke and how it maybe helped
Mhm.
them through something, even if that doesn't resonate with you, and even if it's not your
Yeah.
favorite or what you wanted, it can at least give you a reason to say, okay, that wasn't maybe for me, or it didn't
Mhm.
hit me in the right way, but that's really cool how it helps someone else. And so I don't know, it's kind of all those things. I can go on forever and I won't, but
No, that's great because in
Yeah,
many ways,
we
I
love
mean,
to hear it. Mhm.
we come at it from kind of a similar perspective, right? Where it is about like the ethos of the trial was always kind of like having I mean, we used to be three, unfortunately, we're two now, but we always like to have the extra gets to have the triad, but kind of have
yeah.
like those three people that have like their different points of view that already come from a different POV from like what the quote unquote classic Star Wars fan is, and kind of engage with it in that sense and kind of increase our understanding and augment our perspective in terms of like how not only how we engage but why we engage. So it's really cool, and I think we need a lot more of that now,
Yeah. Mhm.
especially because of the supercharged times that we live in. But definitely going forward, because there's no finish line, right? To
Yeah.
understand it, we always have to kind of keep pushing it to kind of further that. So that's wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
Uh, Now we were talking a lot about how you engage with Star Wars in that way. But now, in terms of a more formal engagement with Star Wars, right? Where with Skeleton Crew, we had Acolyte now. Like, what has been like your perspective, right, coming into all these shows that Star Wars has given us in the last couple of years, since we haven't had a movie in a while since Rise of
Yeah.
Skywalker.
Yeah. So I'm very much in general a middle. I mean, clearly I think people can tell for me. I'm very much a middle ground person. I have a lot of empathy and I like listen to people, and even if I disagree with them, like I try to at least understand like where someone is coming
Yeah.
from. And while I'll never say like don't give me Star Wars projects, I love all the new things. I do enjoy everything. I am one of those people, which is annoying to some people, but
It's better than the
I
alternative.
yeah
Let's put it that way.
I
yeah
agree.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I do enjoy pretty much all of I enjoy all the movies and I enjoy all the shows and everything, but I do think there is some wisdom too in slowing down a little bit and
Mhm,
not just pumping things out to have more. I
mhm,
think there is something that is true and good about um, taking your time and doing something and having really good. Not that things haven't been good quality, but
mhm, mhm,
I think things
Yeah.
can be missed, and I think things can um, have a little bit more rough edges or not be as polished or different things like that if it is a quickly pushed thing. And that
mhm,
is so hard, I think, in any creative space
mhm,
because when you have a company, which it is a company, and like, they
Yeah.
are making money, that is the way that it is.
mhm,
And
Hmm.
so you want to have a lot of products and you want to be able to capitalize on that. But at the same time, it is a creative process. And
Hmm.
as you guys know from creating your podcast, anybody who's created anything, creativity is not a timeline type of a
mhm,
thing
mhm, mhm,
sometimes.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
So when you squish deadlines and force things, not that I'm saying that that has happened, I'm just saying like in general, if that happens to anything that's creative, it can cause things to not always be the full vision.
Yeah.
And I
mhm,
think we have seen that some with some Star Wars things where things, I enjoyed it and I think they're great, but I think some time could have maybe helped with some
mhm, mhm,
things. And if you're already looking at things from a critical point of view, those things are going to stand out a lot more
Yeah.
and be a lot more prominent, I think, if that's the lens that you're already looking at it. So I did enjoy The Acolyte. I don't think it was a perfect project.
mhm.
I I'm one of those people that I say things once and then I let it go. I've already
Right.
kind of said the
Hmm.
things that I would maybe have done differently, but I did enjoy it. I love Skeleton Crew. It's been so fun.
Mhm.
I love
Yes.
Ahsoka. I did enjoy Kenobi.
So did I.
It was good, yeah,
um
yeah.
I
You're
thought
not
it
gonna
was
hear an
great.
argument from us on that one.
yeah, yeah, and that's another thing where it's like, I mean, guys, come on, that was like filmed during a pandemic,
Mhm,
like
mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
it's gonna have a smaller fill and be more volume in that because of that, so
Hmm.
um but yeah, so I'm definitely not a hater. I'm fine with like good, healthy, respectful
mhm,
criticisms.
mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
But overall, I am happy. I am excited though for them to maybe slow down a little bit and for us to get movies again because I do love when Star Wars is an
mhm,
event and it is
Yeah.
something that you can go as a
Yeah.
community together to go see.
mhm,
There's just nothing like seeing a Star Wars film in theaters. Like
mhm.
Yeah.
there really isn't, to me at least. So I am
Especially for the
excited
first
for that.
time. It's just like
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
it's a
that big
thrill.
screen and the
Yeah,
sound and how excited the audience tends to be, and you kind of like feed off of everybody else's
yeah. You see
Yes.
that
emotions.
Lucasfilm logo and like
Oh
it's
yeah.
Yes.
And
yep.
then the music swelling and the whole thing, and I think there is also something to be said about growing expectations when you don't get a lot of content. And Star
Mhm.
Wars was like that when it was just the films, and you would have to wait every time. And then after the original film, we never thought we were going to get the prequels. And then we never thought we were going to get the sequel. So, when you give it a little time to sit and you can analyze what you've been fed already. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
you start building more expectations, but sometimes, and especially, I don't know if it was the best decision to have the Acolyte and then Skeleton Crew come so fast on its heels, because I don't feel like we really had a time to breathe between one and the other. And even though I'm having so much fun with Skeleton Crew, I really am. But it being released in the holidays is really hard from a podcast perspective,
Exactly, that's what I was
because
gonna say.
Yeah.
Because as a normie, it's great because you're like, oh, I
yeah,
get to watch some Star Wars during the holidays. So for us, it's
yeah,
just like, fuck, like when are we gonna schedule people? And
yeah. And it's like we have jobs, and then it's like,
right,
but then we have things with families, and then how's everybody going to react? And we
yeah,
always like having a third person, so we're the triad, and it's been kind of a
first world
scheduling nightmare
problem.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I get it. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if maybe they were going for like we've released movies in December
Hmm.
and if they
And
were
so we're
going
just
kind of
doing
for
this
that
show.
feel.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because the show was delayed, and originally it was supposed to
Right.
still come out during the holidays, and then the delay was a year. So I imagine that the plan was always to be like, oh, it's a family
This is a
oriented
holiday
show,
thing.
so let's
Yeah.
do it during the holidays so that families can watch it together. So and I'm kind of glad for that because it does feel like it's I mean, if I think about being, I don't know, 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever age range those kids are, and like being that age and having Star Wars on TV, that would
Yeah.
have blown my
And have
childhood
kids be the
mind.
main
Yeah,
characters of a show, I would have been, oh yeah,
and watch it with my
definitely.
family during the holidays. It would have
Oh
been
yeah.
best Christmas ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this gift that Lucasfilm has been giving us with Skeleton Crew. We're on episode 4. Can't say I remember no Attin. So far, like how you've mentioned that you have liked Skeleton Crew, but tell us a little bit like what your expectations were going into the show and like how you felt now that we're on episode 4. We're at the halfway point. So like how has Skeleton Crew resonated with you?
It's the show that no one really asked for.
Yeah.
And so I think that that kind of almost set it up to have not as high of
Hmm.
expectations, I
Yeah.
think, for people just to go in and be like, "Hey, no one really was expecting this or asking for this,
Hmm.
so we'll just have fun with it." It's like a bonus Star Wars show
Hmm.
or whatever,
Yeah.
And, um, I have had so much going on that, I didn't really deep dive into a lot of things about it before it came
Hmm.
out or,
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
um, tried to have really any and I did go into that too with the Acolyte. I tried to go into it with like, I haven't read a lot of the High Republic books and things like
Yeah.
I'm very behind on books. But
Same,
I
same.
thought, I'm
Hmm.
gonna try to go into this with like no expectations. And I think that did help me
Hmm.
anytime I do that. But this has just been such a fun little surprise.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I do love how you guys have already hit on like the kid aspect of it because it does take me back to um, being 9 when The Phantom Menace came out
Hmm.
and, Anakin's 9 in that movie, and
Mhm,
so it's just to see a kid and you're a kid and watching them in the Star Wars universe is just
Yeah.
like another level of
mhm,
Yeah.
enjoyment, I
mhm,
think, as
mhm,
kids, and so, watching it, I thought, even if this isn't something that I love, like, I love that it's gonna bring a new audience in
Yeah.
and through such
mhm,
a fun story, but I have enjoyed it as an adult,
Yeah.
yeah,
I've really enjoyed it. I love all of the pirate aspect, I knew I would love that because I'm a huge
Hmm.
Clone Wars fan, so I love the pirates, I love Hondo, I love all of that. I've
Yes.
always
mhm,
loved, pirate or treasure type movies or different things, especially as a kid, and so, having that be a part of Star Wars, and then just the whole '80s vibe to it is so
mhm,
fun
Oh
mhm,
yeah.
too,
Hmm.
and just works so well, I think, with it being around kind of the time of the original movies,
mhm,
so, that's another thing that I've talked about. To me, like, I don't have, like, necessarily a preference for what I want Star Wars to look like. I know that was a lot of what people talked about with The Acolyte, but for
mhm,
Hmm.
me, I want the aesthetic to feel around the trilogy that it comes out in,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm,
the timeline. So if it's gonna be around the prequels, I don't mind if it has more CGI or different things like
mhm,
that.
Mhm.
mhm,
Because to me, if you're gonna watch, let's say you watch something from start to finish at some point, you know, which would take forever, but it's gonna flow, you know, like
mhm.
it's not gonna look like, oh, this was in the 70s and then this was made in 2024, which I mean, it will to an extent, but like it's gonna
Yeah.
keep kind of that same
Mhm, mhm,
vibe.
mhm.
And so I love the style, I love all the creatures, the music. Like
Yeah.
I've been really, really happy with it overall. So
Nani, how about you? Like now, obviously, like I mean, I know your opinion of the previous three episodes, but like, how did you feel now going into episode 4, where we've arrived at not at
Right.
Attin, at Akram, I think is the name of this planet.
Mhm.
So it was kind of unexpected, right? Because last episode we were like, "Oh, are they actually gonna go to Atlan?" It's kind of
Yeah.
too soon to get here, and lo and behold, and spoiler alert, they did not go there. So, like, what was your initial reaction to the episode just kind of kicking in and setting things in motion to this like mirror planet, basically this upside
Right.
down world almost?
Yeah, I like that. So yeah, so I was really surprised because when they show up and from the looks of it initially, do you believe that you have come to Atten? And I was like, wait, already? We're at
Mhm.
episode 4 and we're already, back home? What are they gonna do for the rest of the season? So I was glad that it wasn't actually at Atten. And I really did love kind of Jude Law's perception. He was like so happy. Oh, it's finally Atten. This is like ashy dust. Like, where
Mhm.
are we? This does not meet expectations whatsoever.
He
So
does say it feels like home, which is an
he
interesting
did.
thing to
He's like,
say.
it does remind me of my home planet, which
Mm,
I mean, then his home planet was probably gnarly too. Um, So I just think it's really cool because these kids, they come from these kind of like a Pleasantville-ish
mhm, mhm,
planet where everything is like this perfect suburbia, but at the same time they're hiding everything from them. So they have no idea what's going on in, the rest of the galaxy.
mhm,
And then to come to this planet, which is basically an exact copy, but which, failed at some point hundreds of years ago and became this like, we went from Pleasantville to Mad Max a little bit
mhm, mhm,
there.
mhm.
And I remember at the beginning when they kept
Yeah.
talking about like what flag do you fly and stuff. I think is this like a really elaborate game of capture the flag? Is
Yeah.
this are they using like actual weapons or is this just kids? And then obviously you get to the point where you find out that yeah, it is adults as well. But I thought it was really cool the line where I think it was when he's like, "Are you an army of kids trying to fight the adults for control of the planet?"
Yeah.
It's so I thought it was so cool that they just kind of went out on their own. They left Jod at the ship. They made EM33 be a babysitter and go into
Mm,
babysitting sequence and everything. So I really love the fact that they've kind of continued to let the kids lead the show.
mhm, mhm,
And
mhm,
then even though that Jod is this like he's starting to become this parental figure, especially when he shows up to rescue them, and a couple of them actually hug him and are really excited to see him. Fern is starting to trust him, but I do really love that it has been from the point of view of the kids and that they act like kids all the time.
mhm,
Like Win
mhm,
runs around holding a branch like it's a lightsaber, and he still believes in the Jedi. And Fern showed true vulnerability for the first time in this episode because
mhm,
she's been trying to be so tough, which is fantastic. I love Fern, but this time, she's crying because she feels all this responsibility and the fact that she's called a captain, and she's like, "I'm not really a captain." So
mhm,
there's this show has been really surprising in so many ways, and I'm having so much fun with it. And like I was saying, yeah, it's rough as a podcaster to be doing this during the holidays,
mhm.
but I think it is the perfect time to release it. I think me and
Yeah.
Josbando like sit down and watch it, and we're just having so much fun with it. And I can't wait for my nieces to be older and I can like watch this with them. And
Mhm,
it's a really good, I think, entrance into Star Wars for anybody. Like if you're, an adult that's young at heart or kids that want to see themselves as the heroes in a Star Wars show, I think there's a lot of really good things about it. And like you were saying, Jessica, like The music has been so good. I mean, but also like the cinematography. I think the
Mhm.
kids were perfectly cast. And Neil's character creation from the beginning, I really loved, but he really got to shine in this one.
Mhm.
And it's been, I don't know, I it's been great.
I mean, it's interesting that we keep talking about the child friendliness of the show when when this episode in particular was so
Dark. Yeah.
dark. So I think that's been
Yeah.
one of the really good things that the showrunners and writers of the show have been able to balance is that, well, I mean, and it's a two pronged thing, right? Because we talk about darkness in a kids show, but then I have to put that in perspective with the things that we used to watch back in the early 90s with, you know, The Dark Crystal or Never Ending Story, Goonies, obviously. And
Yeah.
like they were kids movies, but they were dark, you know, like
Dark. Yeah.
they
The
like that scene when
labyrinth.
when Atreus trying to get the horse out of the mud is, come on,
Yeah.
like there was a lot of
Yeah.
darkness in kids media that I think uh, a lot of contemporary media has been afraid to delve into just because, oh, it's
Yeah.
for kids, so we have to kind of
Has
Disneyfy
to
or
be cute
sanitize it,
and pretty.
right?
Hmm.
And I appreciate that this show kind of respects kids enough to be like, hey, kids also go through their things, and they also have doubts, and they also question, and they also go through their moments of darkness. Whatever. I mean, it's a kid's darkness, but it's still their own darkness, right? And for them, it's the worst thing in the world.
Hmm.
So to respect kids enough to present that to them, I think it's really commendable because I haven't really seen that in a lot of media lately. And I like what you said, Nanny, about like not treating Jod as like the main character. Now as Youth Law is back, and now the
Yeah.
kids are
Hmm.
silent, so now it's his show. And it's interesting because I think there's going to be some kind of twist with who he is,
Right.
and I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get into like the whole responsible speculation portion at the end, but like for me, like it's this whole thing where he's a lost kid, you know. But to go back to Peter Pan and
Yeah.
Hook and all those things, it's like he was a lost kid, and he just kind of got away from Neverland, and he grew up and he's still trying to find his tribe and everything. So I think there's going to be that
Yeah.
kinship that forms between like the skeleton crew, right?
Hmm.
And Jod in terms of like finding each other, like him finding his lost childhood and them kind of losing some part of their innocence but retaining their naivete. I don't know. Yeah, but that's like my first reaction, right, to the episode. We'll get into all the Neel stuff and SM33 stuff. But Jessica, what was your in-depth reaction now about like how this episode has been? I mean, the episode on the show, right, have been treating darkness in a kid's story.
I I could kind of, I don't know, feel like I could see some of the themes that they're maybe setting up from the beginning, and I kind of went into this a little bit when I talked with my friend on the reaction of the
Mm,
first two,
Yeah.
um, but you can see them specifically, like, setting up the different, like, home life of the different kids,
Yeah.
and there's a
That's
lot
true.
of
Hmm.
contrast between all of them, and I feel
mhm,
like that was very intentional,
Hmm.
and so we'll kind of see how, again, it kinda even goes back to what I was talking about, like, how different people react to different things based off
Hmm.
of what they go through in life. And so, to see who Fern's mother is, and for
mhm,
her to
Yeah.
be the one that's like, "Oh, I'm the captain, and like I've got to
Right.
keep a brave face, and I've got to be, just present strength in a certain way." And to see her from that to breaking down and being like, I don't know what
Yeah.
I'm doing."
mhm,
I'm just
mhm,
Yeah.
I'm just kinda going along with you guys, like, I don't know, and so I loved that happening. I didn't think that would happen as quickly as it did,
Yeah.
but I love that it did because I think we're gonna just get continue, like, more character growth with her from that because they
Hmm.
did it earlier. And seeing the other kids, how either they're concerned about getting home to their family, or they're concerned about taking care of each other. It all very much reflects on what they have or what they're lacking back at
mhm,
Right.
home.
Hmm.
Um, and I think not only does that resonate with kids that are watching this, but it resonates with adults that are watching it too,
Mhm.
and, different childhood trauma or lack thereof, as you're
Right.
growing up, if you were super sheltered or if had a parent that was doing their best, but to you as a kid might
Mhm.
seem kind of absent or whatever, you don't
Right.
understand
Mhm.
why because you're a kid. And so I
Yeah.
love them going into that and then adding, Jod, and we don't know his story. We don't know, what
Right.
his
Mhm.
childhood was like. It fits, especially, if he is like a force user,
Mhm.
him
Mhm.
maybe being
Yeah.
a Padawan or a kid at the time of, Order 66. Like,
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
again to speculate on any of that yet, but like we don't know. We don't know where he came from. We don't know if he turned into a pirate because he was trying to prove
Right.
something too or
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
And so it's fun. Maybe fun's not the right word. It's it's a creative choice that I love that they're doing. And I think it does kind of show, like you guys were talking about, like the darkness that
Yeah.
kids, yes, they're kids and they have fun and they do have an innocence about them, but I mean, think about when we were kids, we still knew what was going on, to
Mhm.
an
Yeah.
extent that our kid
Mhm.
brain could. And I think when kids have adults that instead of hiding that stuff, like
Yeah.
acknowledge it and talk to them about it, it's always really good. And so
Mhm.
I'm curious to see kind of how they handle that too. Like, is Jude Law's character going to be the one that comes alongside them and is like, hey, yeah, people do fight in wars
Mhm.
and
Mhm. Mhm.
Right.
these things do happen, and this is what you can do, kind of like, not getting into Neel because there's so much there, but like,
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
whole aspect of it and kind of reinforcing different ideas. Or is he gonna say to run away, or is he gonna, and again, it has
Yeah.
to do with his life and how he grew up. So I like that they're addressing those things because I've said this before talking about other things, like even outside of Star Wars, a lot of who I am as a person, as an adult, is somewhat because of, art or media or
Mhm.
movies
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
music and TV shows that I saw as a kid that
Yeah.
talked about real life things on a child's level,
Mhm.
you
Right.
know?
Mhm.
I think about the environment and trees and animals because of watching one. I think it was called Once Upon a Forest, was a movie that was out then, and
Mhm.
it's about this oil spill that happens and all these little animals get sick and they have to go find this, I think it was like a flower or something, to like
Mhm.
save one of them. And as a kid watching that, like I didn't see it
Fern
as
Gully.
yeah, I didn't see it as like
Yeah.
I didn't see it as, like, trying to indoctrinate kids or
Mhm.
anything
Mhm.
like that
Mhm.
because 'cause you're a kid, but it was, like, a great way to make kids aware of, like,
Yeah.
"Hey, like, there's things that, like, we can take care of as humans, and we can make the world a better or a worse place because of our actions and being irresponsible or not." And
Mhm.
so I love it when TV shows or movies or art of any kind deals with real world, like, adult
Mhm.
topics, but
Mhm.
presents it in a way to kids that they can kind of think about it if they want to. Not all kids think about it, but some kids do. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that it's a fun show, but they are dealing with things too.
Right, because it's a matter of like how deep you wanna like go into it, because you can watch it
Yeah.
at a surface level and enjoy it
Yeah.
where it's at, but you can kind of peel the layers and see what's behind it. And I mean, and to some extent, some things might be just projection of the things that we're seeing and experiencing that we want to attach onto what we're watching, as opposed to like other things that are actually coded into the show intentionally by the
Yeah.
creators and writers. Because I think one of the really cool things about this episode was kind of having the planet be a mirror of Attin and
Yeah.
a suburb in ruin, and then having kids fight in that war, because it's so there's so many things that are happening in the world right now, and like I compare with everything that's happening in Palestine, right? And like if we
Mhm.
look at everything that's happening like on our side of the pond, and we're and like I'm in a suburb right now, and everything's beautiful and peaceful and serene, and all the kids go into their private schools and have a wonderful life, and have and everything's just like this thing that happens somewhere else, but
Yeah.
other places that might have been set up the same way with their suburbs and their nice houses and their streets all of a sudden have been destroyed, and like
War zone. Mhm.
kids are forced to it's not a it's, it's not sci-fi fantasy
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
imagine kids in horrible situations like this. So I think it's very interesting to kind of make that juxtaposition about how not only are these kids confronting the realities of the atrocities that the world can give you when you've been in a privileged position to not have to worry about anything at all, but like
Yeah.
how there are proxies in many ways. Because like let's be very honest. I think that a lot of the people, if not most of the people that like Star Wars, have come from a kind of privileged background where they can enjoy it on a surface level. And I think that there's adding the layer of having the kids be Star Wars fans too, because Wim loves his Jedi tales and everything. Kind
Yeah.
of have them be our proxies traveling the
Mhm.
world, because in many ways it's I feel like at least parallel to my journey to an extent, right? From being like in a sheltered suburban life to kind of going to high school where it expands your circle a little bit, and then you go to college and it expands your circle even more, and then you kind of go out and work and you're in the real world and you see everyone else around you, and you kind of start seeing the layers of how life is not the veneer in which you live within. So I think that it's a very nice touch to set it in Akron, just because it is that. It's just like it's we're in the same world, but the realities of that same world are completely different
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
a lot of different people. And I have to give kudos for also having the child revolutionary be have a French accent. I don't know why that worked, but
It
I was
did.
just like, but I'm just like, I don't know why. It's just like it's great. I'm just like, let's go.
It
French
reminded
accents in
me
space.
of Ryloth a lot,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
thought about that too. I'm just like, is a Twi'lek is Hera gonna
Yeah.
show up here all of a
Yeah.
sudden? French
Yeah.
accent? Nanny,
Yeah.
what do you think about having the upside down Akron at Akron?
Yeah, it was, it was so surreal to watch, and I love that it was Neel who realized it looks like home, but it's not actually home. And I love how they make these references to, did we actually fall asleep and wake up like 100 years later? Because I thought about that for a
Mhm,
little bit. Wait, time's relative, so maybe like something really bad happened. Then this is at Attin. So it's really weird to see a place that, when it was probably founded, they started out in exactly the same way. And now they are
mhm,
complete opposites of what they were, and how these kids react to seeing a place that is a mirror of their home that is so completely different. And that's where we get all these really awesome conversations with Neel and the revolutionary girl. I forgot her name. Hala?
I I don't remember, names and
Yeah.
me, we're not friends, so
Who was a total badass. She was great. I loved
yeah,
her. And the fact that they could have played it off very differently, how the dad is like, we respect our children because children deserve respect as well, and children can also show bravery and show up for our people. And I mean, it was creepy that he made them, lead the raid at the end. It's like,
yeah, yeah.
you just met them, that's a little bit too much. Now you're kind of using them as cannon fodder.
Which I thought was interesting, and I don't wanna
Yeah,
cut you off because, like, what
that's
one
fine.
thing that I think was interesting about that was
Hmm.
the generational warfare too, right? It's like there was like that
Hmm.
one aspect of like, oh yeah, we respect our kids and everything, but then also, like you said, the cannon fodder, but then also the fact when French revolutionary child, which we'll get her name eventually, but she's saying that her dad and like the older generations are saying how the younger
Yeah.
generations are weak and how they have to prove themselves.
Yeah.
There's
And
like
every
that thing,
generation gets weaker.
which is just like that thing is just like, but you create like you raised this generation, which like I
Yeah.
felt it when she said that because I'm just like, oh, that's the same thing boomers did to millennials, saying like millennials are soft and participation trophies and all this. And it's like, what? We're
Yeah.
just like living in the world that you built for us, that you're
Yeah.
giving us, and now
And now we have
now
to
you have a
live with.
problem. Yeah, now we have to live with the consequences of what you built, and now you're criticizing us for like how we're dealing with your mess. I don't know. I feel like I don't
Yeah.
want to say triggered because that's the wrong word, but I resonated. I was just like, "You go,
Hannah, by the
girl."
way.
Hey, now there we go. I was like, "Hey, now you go, girl. You
That's
get
what
it."
I was looking up to. I was, like, trying to
Yeah.
find it, and I finally found it
And
at the same time.
and yeah, well, and then when Neel saw those like two kids like in their under the little tent and they were just staring at the food like they've been starved because it kind of
Mhm,
seems like only the warriors get rations,
mhm, mhm,
so only the kids who show potential and can actually fight get food. The other ones are what, being left to starve like Spartan style. You have to learn how
mhm,
to steal and do everything and actually show your worth to the society as a warrior clan, which is one of the reasons that I love Tahina so much, because she could have seen Neel as just weak. She's like,
mhm,
oh,
mhm,
the way you act and everything, you come from a weak clan. But then she realized that because of that, and she specifically says it, it's fine, you come from a weak clan, but that has lent you kindness. And my planet probably needs
mhm.
kindness, which was
Ah,
so
so good. It was
good.
such a good scene.
I know.
And it reminded me a lot of, I mean, the directors of the episode were the Daniels, so it makes sense that they would kind of tie some themes
Yeah.
to everything everywhere all at once. But it's it's
Yeah.
that's the whole point of everything everywhere all at once. It's just like we could use more kindness and treat
Mhm.
each other better. So like to have this episode be directed by the Daniels and to
Yeah.
have that little moment in it was just amazing because
Full
it's
circle.
because people I think wrongly equate
Yeah.
kindness with weakness, but it takes a lot of
Yeah.
strength. A lot of strength to be empathetic, a lot of strength to be kind, a lot of strength to see the faults within yourself and to see the strengths in others. So I feel like it's it's something that especially like, and I keep talking about like the charged times that we live in, but the charged times that
Yeah.
we live in, kindness is being taken away in a lot of ways because
Yeah.
there's a lot of like misplaced individualism in terms of like how we watch out for our resources and a lot of otherizing and not a lot of kindness. So I feel like to quote Hannah, right? Like it's like our world could use a little more Neel and
Yeah.
a little more kindness.
Yeah.
And Jessica, why don't you talk a little bit about like that sequence and Neel in general, the MVP of the episode?
Oh yeah.
So, and I feel like I always have to talk about her at some point, but my favorite character is Ahsoka
Mhm,
Tano, and,
Yeah.
all I could get in those moments, it was so Ahsoka coded to
mhm,
me, and it also made me think of a lot of, um I don't know, I'm not really a person that if I have conversations with people, like, celebrities or not, I don't really, like, just put that online because it's, like, private conversation with somebody.
mhm,
I don't know, it's just
Right.
not my thing. Not like knocking people that do that. It's just for me, I don't do that.
mhm,
But I can share this because I feel like it's something that she shares with a lot of people. But I did get to meet Ashley Eckstein this year. And I got to meet her actually in my hometown
oh, nice.
city, which was
Mhm,
a real full circle moment, and we talked a lot about kindness and about Ahsoka, and how and at the panel, she even shared about how a lot of Ahsoka's characteristics were also, I don't know if it was like, I don't remember if she said like directly or indirectly, but a lot of Ahsoka became a lot of Ashley. Like
Ashley.
they were very similar
Yeah.
in who they are. Um, and she felt a lot, and she talked about this at the panel too, but that, kindness was a weakness, and that was a weakness of hers. But through Ahsoka and through, growing and time, I think she learned, and more of us are learning that that's actually that's a strength, that
Mhm.
Yeah.
is a power, and that kindness can be your strength. And that's one of the things that, and I got to share this with her too, but that resonated so much with me with Ahsoka is she is the first character that I really feel like that um being kind wasn't viewed as being um weak or naive
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
even not intelligent. Like, a lot of times
Yeah.
people that are kind
Mhm.
are the ones that get tricked very easy,
Mhm,
or
mhm,
they,
mhm,
Yeah.
which, I mean, I've gotten burned a lot for being kind. I trust people a lot too easily sometimes. I think the best of people, but, one of the things that she shared is, like, never stop that. Even
mhm,
if, yes,
Yeah.
you might get burned a lot more with people or with friends or different things, but, like, at least you were kind. Like, at least
mhm,
you don't have any regrets for being who you were,
Yeah.
and for using that as your strength, because you can learn from it, and you can, take from those things and learn what to do different next time, but the kindness part should never, like,
mhm,
go away. Like, that is a strength, and that is something that you can choose. I don't remember her saying this forever, to not let anyone take that from you.
mhm,
That my kindness is my kindness, and my strength is keeping that and not letting anyone take that from me. And I love that, and I love Ahsoka, and I love
mhm,
Ashley, and I feel
Yeah.
like Neel has that kindness to him, and for
Yeah.
him, he is, like, even younger than when we met Ahsoka, but,
mhm,
he is
Yeah.
this child that is just, he has such a pure little soul, not I
Yeah.
don't know if there's souls in in
mhm,
Star Wars, but, to relate
Yeah.
it to real world, and he just has such an innocence and such a purity, and, like, just such a goodness about him. Not that if you're that way that you're perfect, but
Yeah.
mhm,
um him saying things like, "Well, what if you don't fight? What if you talk?
mhm,
Like, have you talked to them? Have you told them,
Mhm.
like, hey, this isn't nice, like, don't
Yeah.
steal our stuff,
Yeah.
mhm,
and
mhm,
it's
mhm,
like, yeah, at the end of the day, things could really be that simple
mhm,
Yeah.
if people
Just
would
like
talk to each other.
apologize. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
just he said, I think it's braver to, apologize and just say, I'm sorry I stole your stuff. Maybe don't steal my stuff
mhm,
and we won't
Yeah.
steal each other's stuff and we can coexist and it'll be fine.
yeah,
Which is I think the magic of the way he says it because he's so sincere about it.
mhm,
It's not
mhm,
this kind of just forced kindness that you do because you think it's the right thing to do. It just comes from this place of sincerity and vulnerability and he inspires it in other
mhm,
people.
mhm,
Yeah.
So it's just I think they've done such a great job in general,
Yeah.
but with Neel specifically,
Yes.
this character development we got in this one short episode
mhm,
was so fantastic. And it's like me and Goose talk about it all the time. It's mostly show don't tell. Like you
mhm,
don't need to explain everything a million times. Just show through the actions and the conversations and the simplicity and it came out, I think, very well.
mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. It
So
just,
I think one of the most important things about Neil too, I mean, yeah, he's a lover, not a fighter, but and he believes in kindness, but he also believes in doing what's right and standing up for your friends. Because let's not forget that
yeah,
when SM33 was about to,
yeah. Hmm.
throw hands at
Neil stepped up.
everyone, Neil stepped up and
mhm.
threw that rock. He went hobbit
Hmm.
on him and threw those stones. So I think that's also important. Just because you're kind doesn't
Yeah,
mean that you're not afraid to do the right thing. Our
Yeah.
sweet little boy like took a little power nap after those events, but I think
yeah.
that's important too. It's just like, yeah, like being kind doesn't mean that you're weak and you can't stand up for the right thing, which I
Yeah.
think was
Yeah,
the most important part of, like, I think that's the
yeah,
piece that tied the
yeah.
episode with a bow, which I think a lot of people are just like, oh, this whole scene is about SM33 knowing the coordinates to go
No,
to
it's
Attin.
not.
And I'm just like, I mean, yeah, that's cool, that's lore,
Yeah,
and that's all the things about the next episode. But the cool thing here was just like realizing that these are kids, that Vern is not
yeah,
comfortable being captain, that Wim actually
yeah,
doesn't want to be on this adventure anymore, and then that Neil has stood up to his friends. I mean, not to his
yeah.
friends, to SM33 for his
Mhm.
friends. So it was a really impactful episode because it
Hmm.
said so much about everybody and about, yeah, and like
Yeah,
we were saying before, like if we want to go deeper about so much about like our world that we could
yeah.
learn a lot from. But let's talk. I know like we're short on time and we want to hit almost everything that we can. So I want to like go into that scene when they go into the administrator's tower. I forget what they call it, and we see
Fallen
like
Sanctum,
the fallen
Yeah, they called it
sanctum.
a
which
fallen
There we go.
sanctum,
There
but
we go. That
yeah,
sounds
I
much
think it
cooler.
was like a tower originally or
yeah, but then
something. I don't know.
Neil's the one that notices that in their planet,
Yeah.
that's the supervisor's tower. That apparently
Yeah.
nobody has seen, so I'm starting to think it's maybe
Mhm.
a droid that's running the
That's
entire
Well, because
yeah,
we
planet.
see,
see
yeah.
But
the giant sculpture without a head,
yeah,
King No Head.
King No Head.
So
Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's just like, is this the administrator like all the jewels of the Republic? Is this,
yeah.
you know, you know? Well, we can discuss it when
We
we
can do that in
responsibly
the
speculate. But
yeah,
uh, this is like I think we're at the halfway point now with the show, and I think that this scene kind of sets up the direction in which everything is
yeah,
gonna go to start wrapping things up before the show ends in a couple of weeks. And I think it's really interesting because like, it's like now we kind of know, right, that SM33 knows how to get home. There was something that
yeah,
happened, and now Jod, we know that he stole money from Kh'ymm, so he's with the kids, but he's also against them. But
yeah,
there's more cooking there. Now we know that the kids are kind of disenfranchised now with who they thought they were and what they thought they were capable
yeah.
of being. So like now it's the resolution to all of these things. So let's talk a little bit about that scene, Jessica. Like what how did you feel when we got up to the fallen sanctum and we saw the star charts destroyed and like all the kids' hopes and dreams dashed? Like what was your reaction to how the episode ended?
Well, I feel like from it being like a pirate type adventure thing, I was like, okay, it can't be this easy, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's going back to like, are they really at Attin, or is this some and one of the
yeah.
other planets? And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
just like you guys were saying, if they're already back at Attin, what's going to happen? What are they going to do? Because
Yeah.
they're going to have to get off of it again,
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing at this place, like.
Mm.
I'm not surprised. Everything, not everything. So much about this show reminds me of like a lot of like the Star Wars like video games, like
Mhm,
especially like Knights of the Old Republic and things like that, and how you go to try to find something and there's another puzzle, right? Like you have to do this
Right.
puzzle
Mm-hmm.
and
mhm,
there's something else that you have to figure out, and so it just really gives me that kind of vibes. So I thought, like, what's gonna happen? Is it gonna be booby trapped, or is something
Right.
gonna be wrong? And so yeah, I love that it kind of threw I don't know, just like another problem into the mix of what is going on and why can't we get back home, and now how are we going to do it,
Yeah.
and seeing how the characters deal with another setback, and getting creative. And I thought, oh, this is going to be like a like Kotar, where you have to go to
mhm,
the
mhm,
different
mhm, mhm.
planets to get
Yeah.
different information to find the final piece to get to where you go. Like, are they gonna have to go to the other similar places in order
Yeah.
to find the coordinates? Because if it's at this one, maybe it's at another one, and it wasn't
Mhm,
just I don't know. But it's fun. I love how they're adding that to it. It's just
Yeah.
it's so in line with, I think, the whole vibe that they're trying to do with the show. And it's
Mhm.
so fun to watch, and it's fun to see how the kids handle the different things
Yeah.
and everybody like that. So I'm excited to see kind of where it goes, and, you know, like you said, props to Neil for standing up for his
mhm.
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Definitely.
let's go in that direction to where things go. Let's go into a little bit of responsible
Possible
speculation
speculation.
because now we could go in any
Yeah.
direction, I guess, now that the
Yeah.
cards have been dealt. So Nani, let's start with you. Like where do you think this is going? What are your theories now that we've got like a lot of answers,
Yeah.
I mean a lot of questions answered, but then a lot of
Yeah.
questions opened.
Hmm. First, I want to like reiterate again about Neil about the fact that um bravery doesn't mean you don't feel fear. Like
Mhm,
he was the one that was scared the most. And
Yeah.
the episode ends with him, defending them and then just like getting SM33 to like crash all over him. And then he faints. And then we cut to black. And
big boy.
it's just,
Yeah.
it was so great because it's like, oh, he fainted. He saved us. but he fainted.
He fainted.
You know, so
He used all of his like hero energy.
Yeah,
what was
he's gotta take a
left is
nap.
done. Yeah,
He's
and
like,
that does.
he's gonna be kind. That's still being kind to your friends, protecting them.
Yeah.
You know, kindness isn't always saying yes or having someone walk
Mhm.
over you. Sometimes it's
Right.
saying no and
Mhm.
protecting people. So
Yeah, and I'm
I'm here for
terrified to
Neel,
do
too.
it. Yeah, and I'm terrified of it, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I love my friends, and this is what I gotta do. So, Neel. But the scene was shot so well because you kind of get all these different reactions from everybody as soon as they come up the elevator. Because to the kids, it's like it's a mirror planet, but it's a place that nobody's ever allowed to go. So what's actually up there? And for Jod, it's just like it's just another ruin. This is kind of useless. And then when they find the coordinates and the fact that it was broken, and then we get SM33 reacting to it, and the fact that he becomes so scary, because me and Goose had talked about that he kind of reminds us of Smee from Peter Pan. He's just like this kind of comedic relief, you know, sidekick. I don't think it was until this episode that I realized that he actually had a peg leg, which I really hadn't noticed. And then we've seen you know, he's shown hints of the fact that he is bigger and that he is more powerful. But then in that scene when the voice changes and, you know, tear limb from limb and completely extends and the arms come out and it's just like this overpowered, just insane reaction. And it was so well shot because the way like the camera was moving and like the shaking of the background behind, but the droids stay completely solid. It was really well shot. I felt like there was a lot of tension in that whole scene. But I think going forward, the problem is going to be that we know that he does have the coordinates, but how do we reprogram him at this point? Because it was not only, and Ferg was super smart to pick up on it. And Hosbando actually from the beginning, because it is the title of the episode, and he repeated the line so many times. It's like somebody had to have ordered him to forget and to respond with that line. Never heard of Attin, can't remember at Attin. But I was really not expecting for them to encode it, and yeah, and if somebody comes poking around, you kill them by dismemberment. So how do we get SM33, like maybe if you get him off planet, because he started to like regain some memories once he actually landed on the planet, maybe if we get him away he will kind of reboot the original version of where he was loyal to the kids. But it sounds just really complicated because if you ask about it and if you mess with it, you know, he was instructed to destroy. So, I mean, KB made a comment about it only being like hundreds of millions of, you know, computational somethings to like hack SM33 maybe
I have
get the coordinates, but
dumb theory about it.
okay.
And it's only because of the, you know, we have to have Lucasfilm synergy between the Mandoverse and everyone appearing in everyone's show. So you already got Vane, right? The pirate from the last season of Mandalorian. And the last season of Mandalorian also established that we have the little robot droids from Rise of Skywalker that are there that built the new IG version that, you know, Grogu rides in season 3 of The Mandalorian. So what if that's the connective tissue in them? Because we know that this show is technically Mandoverse. So what if that's their solution, where Jod's just like, well, I know a place where they
We can go.
where they can reprogram SM33, and it's Navarro, and they just go to Navarro and they get the little droid guys from Mandalorian to fix SM33, and that's our connective tissue into the Mandalorian, and then maybe more hijinks happen there with the pirates from Mando and the rest of the crew, from Captain Silva's old crew that we know is Jod, and there's still something that needs to happen there. So maybe all of that happens in Navarro, so that we can reprogram SM33 to be able to give the coordinates to Attin. But that's my stupid, silly,
if that actually happens, I'm gonna.
if that happens, put me in a Lucasfilm writers group so I can throw in some dumb ideas around.
Give them some more jewels.
I'll give them some jewels of the old republic. Yeah. Yeah. Although that sounds terrible. Jessica, how about you? What are your theories, your responsible speculation on the show going forward, either into the next episode or the series as a whole?
So again, it gives me so much Knights of the Old Republic. Like
Mm.
I was looking up, I'm trying to remember because I want to the HK-47, the droid. And like you're
Mm.
messing with the memory of it, like in both like the first game and the second game. And you think, oh, is this a translator droid? And then you find out it's an assassin droid, and so um it kind of gives me again kind of the same vibes
Yeah.
of that and that sort of thing. And then I this is so weird, but I thought about it when I was kind of like rewatching it before this, and I thought,
Mhm.
"Oh my gosh, what if the little rat is like sentient?"
Right.
And
Because
what
it
if
does kind
like
of show up in the most like opportune moments. Like
Yeah,
suddenly,
yeah,
maybe
like
that's the old captain. Yeah.
yeah, like what if the rat is like sentient and like
oh
Ratatouille.
is
my
Yeah.
wanting
god.
to help the kids
Yeah.
because they gave it food, like they
hmm
showed
Yeah.
them feeding it and everything. I don't know. That was like a
That's a good
weird
one. That's a
thought
good one.
that I
That'd be
had, but
awesome. Yeah.
I'm like, how
Mhm.
are they gonna get him back on the
Yeah.
ship turned off? That's a big heavy droid.
hmm
That was
Oh yeah. Yeah.
my other thought too. But yeah,
I mean, getting back on the
yeah,
ship, probably Hannah, right? What's her name? She's gonna bring
Hannah.
the
Nina.
Hannah. There we go. Sorry. Bring the EOPs to help carry SM-33. You gotta have some payoff to them getting the EOPs back. So maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Uh, but yeah, we could. It's one of those things where we could be speculating forever
Yeah.
because it's the good
The
type of show
midpoint.
where it's
Mhm.
giving you enough to
Yeah.
be wanting all that more, and we're so lucky that we're gonna get a lot more, especially like now during the holidays. So it's a gift that keeps on giving. But we could be talking ad nauseum about this, but we do have to end for today until the next episode next
Such a
week.
good
But
one though. Such a good
it's an
episode.
excellent one with
It
an
was.
excellent
It was
guest.
great.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us.
Of
You know,
course.
talk about kindness, talk about speculation, talk about Star Wars as a whole. But before we wrap up, once again, thank you for joining us. But before we leave, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you got going on with Tales of the Force, what we can expect from you going forward, and where can
Yeah.
people find you?
Yeah. Um Well, thank you guys first for having me come on. It's always fun to get to talk about, like I said, Star Wars in a different way than I kind of do on the regular.
Mhm.
So I enjoy it just because like my show doesn't talk about really things on this level. It doesn't mean that
Mhm.
I don't enjoy talking about it too. But I have had kind of a lot going on, so I'm hoping to get a few more episodes out, maybe before the end of the year, hopefully, and kind of like
Yeah.
wrap that up as like the first season, I guess.
Mhm.
And then I am thinking of taking a break and doing some like, I don't know, like some creative exploration of like what I want it to look like for the next season and maybe
Right.
like recording some people ahead of time to kind of
Mhm.
have more of a buffer. I mean, like I said, this is my first year doing it. And so I've had some people ask me like, "Hey, can I pick your brain about podcasts?" I'm like, "Sure, but I don't know what I'm doing." It's like, "Fern,
None of
I
us
don't
do.
I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm doing. Like I can
Yeah.
help you, but like I don't know if I'm
The
the
well
best
of
person to
information is not huge.
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, just kind of going from there. I am going to be going to my local convention in the
Mhm.
beginning of January. It's the Northwest Arkansas Comic Con.
Mhm.
And I'm really excited about that. Vanessa Marshall is going to be there
Nice.
and Emily Swallows is going to be there too. So some really great Star Wars guests and some other fun people. Looking forward to Star Wars Celebration
Mhm.
in April. Will be my first one to go to, and I'm really excited about that. But yeah, so just kind of trying to get a few more really fun episodes that I recorded out there. And then also just prepping and planning and, letting the creative juices, I guess, flow for the
Yes.
next the next phase of everything. So, and everything is Tales of the Force. Sorry, my dog just sneezed. One of
Bless you.
them. um, but everything is Tales of the Force. Is my handle on everything from Instagram. I am still on Threads. People are trying to get me to go to Blue Sky.
Yes, join
Maybe
us. Join
eventually.
us.
Adding another thing is like, just daunting right now. YouTube has all of the video episodes,
Mhm.
and then the audio episodes are wherever you listen to podcasts. They're there. So yeah, all
Perfect.
the
And
things.
we are definitely looking forward to all your future endeavors. And for everyone, please make sure to follow Jessica and Tales of the Force. They're amazing. And we will, as always, leave links down on the description below to facilitate everyone's journey to finding you. And once again, thank you so much for joining us and talking
Thank
about
you
Skeleton Crew.
guys. It was so fun.
It was great. It was really great. But we are Triad of the Force. Remember
Yes.
to like, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you're thinking about Skeleton Crew. Are you having as much fun with it as we are? Happy holidays, whichever holiday that you celebrate. It's upcoming. I hope you enjoy it with whoever it is that you choose to enjoy it with. And until next time, we will keep talking about Skeleton Crew, even if it's hard to schedule, but we will.
We will.
We are Triad of the Force, and we love you. May the Force be with you.